Because my husband's white moonlight was being stalked, he broke my limbs and threw me into the basement. I cried and explained, begging him to believe me, but it only provoked even more intense rage and beating from him. Serena never lies, she personally heard you giving orders to the thugs. If she hadn't been discovered, she would have lost her innocence by now. Reflect properly here. My husband ignored the blood flowing from beneath me, locked the door after speaking, and left. In the end, I died from massive hemorrhage due to miscarriage, but he went mad holding my corpse. On the 7th day after my death, my wandering tormented soul was forcibly sucked away by a force and brought before Vincent. The pain before death made me want to flee the moment I saw him. But that force firmly confined me within less than a meter of Vincent, forcing me to observe all his actions. At that moment, the butler was video reporting to Vincent, "Vincent, Madam has been locked in the basement for 7 days, perhaps we should let her out? It's only 7 days, there's water and bread in the basement, she won't starve. She needs to stay in there properly to atone for Serena." When Vincent mentioned me, his face was full of disgust and hatred, as if he wished to tear me apart bone by bone. I was stunned, the pain before death swept over my body, and my soul couldn't help but tremble. "Vincent, I wasn't starved to death, I was beaten to death by you, bleeding out massively." He glared sternly at the butler and scolded in a low voice, "How much did she pay you to speak for her like this? She caused Serena to encounter such a terrible thing, she must suffer the same pain to count as an apology. Anyone who pleads for that venomous woman again, pack your bags and get out." The butler's video was hung up, but Vincent took out his phone, opened Serena's Facebook, where she had posted a new update with a hospital ward and medical card as the background. The accompanying text was just a few words: "Surviving great calamity brings future blessings, kind people are always protected by fate." The fans below expressed heartache one after another. "Even hospitalized, sister is still so strong and optimistic, too touching. I heard Serena was stabbed over 10 times, and her arm was almost severed. Oh my God. What kind of vicious person is this, unable to bear seeing our Serena do well?" Vincent looked at the comments on Facebook, forwarded the post, and commented, "Serena, rest assured, I will definitely make the culprit atone to you." The domineering declaration from the Hood Group's president excited Serena's fans immensely, who liked and supported it one after another. Soon, Vincent received a voice message from Serena. "Brother Vincent, luckily you've always been by my side supporting me. That night, my last thought was to see you one more time, I was so afraid I'd never see you again. Fortunately, I survived." Vincent listened to Serena's weak voice, his face showing heartache, and quickly replied, "You're just too kind, that's why you get hurt. I'll return to the country tomorrow and come see you then. Rest assured, I won't let the culprit go." I stared blankly at Vincent's heartbroken appearance, my soul twitching in pain. It turns out that even as a ghost, one can feel pain. Vincent looked at Serena's profile picture and murmured, "Serena, I'll make that bitch Emily kneel and crawl to you to admit her mistake." "But Vincent, I'd been dead for 7 days, my limbs broken by you, beaten to miscarriage and massive bleeding to death. You can't do anything more to me." "But what did I do wrong? Why treat me like that? Just because of Serena's words, you took my life and our child's. Clearly, I wasn't the culprit, why didn't you believe me? A month ago, someone issued a death threat in Serena's live stream, vowing to make the mistress die without a burial place. Just because of the term mistress, Vincent concluded it was me provoking her. That day, he froze all my bank cards, took away the cash and phone from me, then tore up the pregnancy report I hadn't had a chance to show him and threw it in the trash. I was thrown at the hospital entrance, watching his car drive away. How far is the hospital from the villa? I walked for over 5 hours to get home, but before entering, I heard Serena's coquettish laughter. As soon as I entered, all the laughter in the room stopped abruptly. Vincent waited for me discontentedly, and the other servants in the room looked somewhat unnatural, as if I were the outsider disturbing their fun. Only Serena changed her smile to a hint of apology. "Sister, you're finally back." I told Brother Vincent, "Sister was just worried and chaotic, how could he just throw you at the hospital entrance?" That's too outrageous. What if something happened? Listening to Serena's words that were nominally blaming but actually boasting, I felt a wave of nausea. Vincent said impatiently, "Serena, even now, you're speaking for her. It's just a minor punishment for a major lesson, isn't she fine?" I got up early to go to the hospital for a checkup. Since I needed blood drawn, I was on an empty stomach. Until Vincent took all my money, I hadn't had a chance to eat anything. After walking for 5 hours, I was already exhausted and hungry, my head dizzy in waves, and my stomach churning. Hearing Vincent's words, I couldn't hold back anymore, pushed past Serena, rushed into the bathroom, and vomited violently. Vaguely, I heard exclamations and furious voices outside, along with many chaotic footsteps. But no one came in to check on me even once. When I finished vomiting and went out, Serena and Vincent were gone, only the old butler stood at the door, looking at me sympathetically. "Madam, Miss Serena twisted her ankle earlier, Vincent took her to the hospital." I lowered my eyes, suppressed the pain in my chest, and asked, "Leo, is there anything to eat at home?" Leo is the old butler. He looked awkwardly at the kitchen and said, "Earlier, Vincent said if Madam feels nauseous seeing them, then don't eat. Vincent has cut off your meals for 3 days. This trick again." As a child, I almost starved to death, which caused stomach issues and hypoglycemia, and an abnormal craving for food. Missing one meal makes me dizzy. Vincent knew about my condition. At the beginning of our relationship, he would instruct the butler to prepare various delicacies for every meal and remind me to eat on time. He never let me go hungry. But since Serena appeared, everything changed. The delicacies were for Serena, and for me, it was frequent fasting every few days. He knew hypoglycemia could be fatal, but he never cared about my life. As long as Serena was unhappy because of me, he would immediately freeze my cards and cut off all my food, leaving me with nothing but tap water. At first, I tried to fend for myself, but he anticipated everything and confined me to the house. I couldn't even go out the door. I closed my eyes, said nothing more, turned, and entered the bedroom. I struggled to lift the bed base, took out the hidden biscuits and a packet of glucose, fetched a cup of water from the bathroom, and swallowed them. With something in my stomach, I finally felt alive. I didn't touch the remaining 2 packets of glucose. They were life-saving energy for the next 2 days. Vincent was thorough. He would send servants to clean meticulously. I always lay on the bed motionless, making it the only safe haven to hide food. But too much food would have a smell, so I could only hide a little each time. I relied on these bits of energy to endure punishment after punishment. But I didn't expect that even this little bit was personally searched out by Vincent that evening. As soon as he returned, he angrily directed the servants to flip the mattress and personally tore off the 2 small packets of glucose stuck behind it. Vincent held the 2 packets of glucose, his face ashen, and suddenly slapped me. I had no strength and was thrown to the ground, unable to get up for a long time. "Good, Emily, so you really dared to hide drugs in the room. I didn't know you were so audacious." I lifted my head in confusion. "What drugs?" "This is glucose." Vincent didn't listen to my explanation at all and dragged me to turn myself in. "You're still quibbling. I saw everything on the surveillance." "Surveillance?" Vincent had installed cameras in my room? I was horrified, my eyes subconsciously searching for them. But this action in Vincent's eyes seemed like guilt, further convincing him I was poisoning. Ignoring my explanations, he dragged me by the arm into the car and sped off to the police station. At the entrance, I saw the limping Serena again. She blocked Vincent from entering. "Brother Vincent, it must be a misunderstanding. Sister has always been sensible and wouldn't do something like poisoning." Her voice was loud, and close to the police station. The people inside heard poisoning and rushed out. "Who poisoned?" Seeing someone come out, Vincent immediately pushed me forward. "I want to report this woman for poisoning. This is the poison found at home." The officers immediately arranged for a few hairs to be plucked from me for testing, and the 2 packets of glucose were sent for analysis. We only needed to wait half an hour for all the results. The 3 of us sat in the hall, Vincent's anger hadn't subsided. I tell you, Emily, once the results come out, we're divorcing. You stupid woman, you'll ruin the whole group. Serena quickly grabbed his arm. Brother Vincent, sister just momentarily succumbed to temptation and made a mistake, why divorce? Sister is deeply devoted to you, perhaps she was framed by your competitors, that's why. Serena paused meaningfully, and before Vincent's face worsened, continued, people who err should have a chance to be forgiven. Brother Vincent, it's not easy for you two to be together, so forgive sister this time, give her another chance, okay? Vincent looked at me with disgust, but hearing Serena's words, he patiently patted her hand. Serena, you're pure-hearted and don't know how easily people turn bad. You're too kind, seeing everyone as good. Anyway, this matter is decided. Serena pursed her lips, looked at Vincent with some heartache, prompting him to comfort her quickly. Watching their interaction from the side, I couldn't help but laugh, then finding it unsatisfying, burst into hearty laughter. Vincent's face showed impatience again. What are you laughing at? How interesting, Serena, you claim to plead for me, but every word convicts me. Serena's face immediately showed grievance. Sister, that's not what I meant, how can you wrong me? I ignored her and looked at Vincent, saying word by word, as for you, Vincent, no need to tell me, once the results come, I'll also propose divorce. Do you really think I care about this madam position? Vincent, marrying you is my biggest regret. None other. Vincent couldn't wait to return to the country. I was forced to follow him off the plane and saw him call Serena right after disembarking. Serena's voice on the phone was soft and pleasant, calling Brother Vincent repeatedly, making Vincent beam with joy. He didn't hang up the phone, using his other hand to message the assistant nonstop to buy flowers and gifts for Serena. When his car arrived at the hospital, the assistant was already waiting with fresh flowers, fruit baskets, and gifts. Watching him take these things, my heart no longer felt pain, just my eyes stinging intermittently. I was glad I was no longer human, otherwise, I'd surely be in tears. That would be too embarrassing. Vincent carried the items into the elevator and received a call from Leo. Seeing the call, Vincent looked as if he saw something dirty and reluctantly answered. What is it? Leo's voice came from the receiver. Vincent, Madam has been locked in the basement for 8 days, I'm afraid. Vincent's good mood was instantly shattered. He impatiently issued an ultimatum. Leo, I said, once the punishment is sufficient, I'll naturally let that venomous woman out. Do your job, don't meddle in others. Vincent, that's not what I mean, the situation really seems off. Listening to the anxiety in Leo's tone, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. In the entire Hoare residence, if anyone still cared about me even a little, it was only Leo. If not for him turning a blind eye, how could I have hidden food and endured those days? But unfortunately, Vincent grew even more irritated. The moment the elevator door opened, he roared into the phone, Leo, if you really don't want to work for the Hoare family, you can settle your wages with my assistant tonight and leave. Then he hung up and strode towards Serena's room. But halfway there, a disheveled woman bumped into Vincent. His expensive fruit basket fell to the ground, fruits rolling everywhere. But no one cared, all attention was on the woman because she grabbed Vincent's collar and screamed heartbrokenly, Where's Emily? Where did you hide my Emily? I haven't been able to reach Emily for 10 days, she never goes this long without contact. It must be you. You hid Emily. Give Emily back to me. Following behind Vincent, I saw the woman clearly and covered my mouth in shock. Mom? It was the mother who took me to escape the hellhole, but how had her hair turned white? Clearly, 8 days ago, she was a spirited little old lady. Now, not only was her hair fully white, but her demeanor had aged by over a decade. Who could tell she was only in her 50s? Now, saying she was 60 would be believable. I cried and lunged forward, but passed through my mother's body. I could no longer hug her. In an instant, heartache tore at my transparent body, almost ripping me apart. Vincent pulled my mom's hand away, furious. You investigated my whereabouts? Actually staking out here? Indeed, like daughter like mother, your perverse control desires are truly inherited. My mom, tears streaming, said tremblingly, I can't reach you by phone, tell me, where is Emily? Once I find her, I'll leave immediately, absolutely not disturbing you. Emily has been missing for 10 days, I reported to the police, but they said they called you, and you said Emily is at home. I went to the villa, where is Emily? She didn't even take a single piece of clothing. Where exactly did you hide her? Did something happen to her? Vincent impatiently signaled the assistant to pull her away. Auntie, this is the last time I tell you, don't appear before us again, Emily doesn't want to see you. I looked at Vincent in astonishment, when did I say that? Sure enough, my mom immediately flung off the assistant angrily, you're lying. Emily calls me every day, how could she not want to see me? As she spoke, she started crying again. These days, I dream of Emily every night, dreaming she's covered in blood, lying on the ground in a dark room, crying that it hurts. She asks me to save her, but I'm useless, I can't find where she is. I squatted beside her, wanting to wipe her tears, but I couldn't touch her, I could only watch heartbroken as she wiped them. Mom, your daughter indeed lay covered in blood on the basement floor and died, unable to cry out in pain anymore. As my mom cried, her expression suddenly turned ferocious, she glared viciously at Vincent. Did you lock her up? Did you kill her? Did you kill my Emily for the woman in the ward? All this happened quickly, attracting many onlookers, patients, and families. Vincent was impatiently dispersing the crowd, hearing my mom's ferocious accusation, his brow twitched, a flash of panic crossing his face. My mom keenly caught it and jumped up. You really hurt Emily for that woman. I tell you, Vincent, if you don't hand over Emily today, I'll kill her. Saying that, she rushed toward the ward. The arriving doctors and nurses immediately pulled her back. Vincent, face darkened, called, take that crazy old woman away. And take her for a mental check, I suspect she's mad. I couldn't leave Vincent's vicinity and could only watch heartbroken as they dragged my mom away. Mom, it's my fault for being unfilial, you finally took me out of that hellhole in the deep mountains, yet I jumped into another one. Vincent kicked away the fruits at his feet, adjusted the flowers and his expression, and pushed the door into Serena's ward. I was also pulled and had to enter the room, watching Serena give Vincent a sweet smile. Brother Vincent, you're here. What happened outside earlier? It was so noisy. Vincent placed the flowers in Serena's hands, hearing her question, his expression stiffened, then he unnaturally turned his head. Nothing, encountered a crazy old woman. I glared at him angrily, wishing to pounce and strangle him now. That's my mom, the relative who gave me a second life, not a crazy old woman. I screamed in his ear, but he felt nothing. Serena took the flowers and began excitedly asking about the details of Vincent's overseas cooperation talks. But Vincent was absent-minded, answering irrelevantly several times. Serena's smile couldn't hold. Brother Vincent, you came to see me right after getting off the plane, if sister knows, she'll be unhappy, right? Why not go back and check on sister first? Vincent seemed to snap back, his face softening, no need to mind her, there are people at home serving her, what could she be dissatisfied with? You were injured by people she hired and can't get out of bed, how can I leave? With eyes bleeding tears, I watched their affectionate display, cursing this pair of scum man and cheap woman 800 times in my heart. How pitiful, as a ghost, I can only make impotent curses. Vincent accompanied Serena until she finished dinner before returning to the villa. As soon as he entered, Leo immediately took his removed coat and hung it on the rack. Vincent seemed to have forgotten the daytime call with Leo, saying casually, any movement from the basement? Leo hesitated. Forget it, I'll check myself. Vincent, impatient, grabbed a flashlight nearby and headed to the basement stairs. I followed him step by step toward my burial place, my semi-transparent body unable to stop trembling. Vincent stood before the heavy iron door of the basement, just a step away from my highly decayed corpse. But the door was soundproof, naturally isolating all odors. Even standing so close, Vincent didn't smell the fermented intense corpse stench. There was a phone on the door for speaking inside. Emily, if you admit your mistake now, I'll let you out. I allow you to divorce me. If you agree, pull the bell. Unfortunately, the bell connected inside next to the phone didn't ring at all. Vincent waited a minute, unable to suppress his anger anymore. Emily, you've grown bold. You won't admit wrong, and now you don't want divorce? Who was crying and shouting for divorce initially? I stood beside him, smiling bitterly. Crying and shouting? Vincent, did you forget? That day, when the results came, you didn't even look and eagerly asked the staff if they could detain me after you handled the divorce. The staff looked at him like an idiot. This is just 2 packets of glucose. Detain what? Vincent incredulously snatched the results, then looked up at me puzzled. Why hide 2 packets of glucose? And stick them under the mattress? I laughed. Why hide like that? Did he really have no clue? I couldn't be bothered to explain, turned, and left. Let's go get the documents, we're divorcing. We left in a hurry. I hadn't brought anything, so naturally had to go back for them. By the time we returned to the villa, it was late, past the Civil Affairs Bureau's closing time. I suggested going early tomorrow. Vincent neither agreed nor refused. Of course, he didn't admit wrong. I no longer cared about his attitude and returned to the room to rest. But that very night, Serena had an incident. She was live streaming when someone tailed and abducted her to a deep alley, where they beat her and even attempted to assault her. During the struggle, Serena's phone fell to the ground, screen down. The live-streamed fans couldn't see but heard her struggling cries for help and the thug's vicious threats. The fans in the live stream reported to the police, and at that moment, everyone heard me communicating with the thug on the phone in the stream. The police quickly found Serena, but the thug had fled. That live replay became evidence. While the police were verifying authenticity, Vincent had already convicted me. Vincent threw the recording in front of me, viciously saying, Emily, how did Serena offend you that you'd hire someone to ruin her? Hearing the voice identical to mine in the recording, I panicked and quickly explained, this voice is definitely synthesized. I've never done such a thing. But prejudice is a mountain. Vincent refused to listen to my explanation, took a baseball bat, and viciously hit my legs and body. With each hit, he said, this is atonement for Serena. This is where she was hit, you must endure the same pain. My screams seemed to please him. Later, it was no longer just venting for Serena but more like his own release. Once the demon is released, it can't be caged again. The only thing I could do was protect my belly. Vincent dragged me by the hair to the basement, my body like a rag bumping down the stairs. By the door, my back's flesh was mangled. Vincent dragged me into the basement, grabbed my hair to force me to look up at him. Reflect here properly, I'll let you out when you admit wrong. My body ached intensely everywhere, bleeding made me feel cold. Survival instinct made me grab his pant leg and beg, please, let me out. We'll divorce, I'll never disturb you again. Please, let me out. Vincent kicked my hand away, then viciously kicked my belly, saying coldly, reflect properly here. That kick landed squarely on my lower abdomen. Intense pain made me curl up on the ground. I watched him close the heavy metal door, but pain silenced me. Fresh red blood flowed from my lower abdomen, more and more, with increasing cramping until a small mass of flesh came out. I saw with my own eyes. It was a mass barely showing limbs, my undeveloped child. Powerlessly, I held it in my palm, struggling to crawl toward the metal door. But inside, there was no switch or lock to get out. I could only feel my body gradually cool, stiffen, and die there. Vincent viciously kicked the door. The huge noise pulled back my thoughts. Intense hatred made my body solidify a bit. I pounced to strangle him for revenge, but still touched nothing. At that moment, a call came in, the shrill ring echoed in the empty space. Vincent answered irritably, who is it? Is this Mr. Vincent? Regarding your wife's hiring of assailants to harm someone, the investigation results are out, please bring your wife here. Vincent glanced at the metal door, I can't contact her now. I sneered, this man lied masterfully. The other side continued, you can come alone. Vincent quickly drove to the police station. They gave him a document to sign. After rigorous investigation by our technicians, your wife's voice in this is synthesized. Vincent's face showed momentary confusion. What? They produced another report. Additionally, after detailed investigation, the incident of Mrs. Emily hiring assailants to harm the female streamer was self-directed and self-acted. It was entirely Serena hiring actors for a play. Vincent stood up abruptly, face cold. Impossible, Serena isn't like that. The staff, used to such situations, calmly said, Mr. Vincent, please trust our expertise. And we obtained Serena's confession half an hour ago. Immediately, someone from outside handed a document. The staff opened it and spread it before Vincent. Mr. Vincent can look. The confession is authentic, with her own signature and fingerprint. Vincent grabbed the document and read carefully. The more he read, the paler he became. I leaned over to glance. Wow, truly spectacular. Besides confessing to hiring people to act, it also admitted she used her streamer identity to defraud several tycoons, and Vincent was originally one of them. But Serena didn't expect Vincent to be so easily hooked, so she adapted, changing the goal from fraud to climbing up. Vincent, hands trembling, put down the document and dazedly signed the rest. I watched him stagger out the door, then turn back, requesting to see Serena. They allowed it. Soon, the two met across a glass window. Just one look, Vincent pounced to question, what you said in the confession is all false, right? They forced you, right? They wronged you just to close the case, right? The staff beside him immediately pulled him away discontentedly. Mr. Vincent, if you slander us again, don't blame us for detaining you. Serena inside looked at him and laughed somewhat madly. Vincent, even now, you're still so stupid? Oh, you're not stupid, you're bad. You wanted to divorce Emily long ago, but for reputation, you didn't want to ruin your image. And not wanting to divide property with that woman, you deliberately found opportunities to abandon her. That day, what Emily ate was glucose, you knew. I just casually said it looked like drugs, and you rushed back to righteously eliminate kin. And this time, you've shared a bed with Emily for years. Don't you know her character? You actually believed it. Did you really believe? I looked at Vincent incredulously. Sure enough, I saw a hidden malice on his face. It was a side he never showed me. Now pierced by Serena, he no longer pretended. What nonsense. It was you who insisted Emily was on drugs that I went back. It was you who said you saw Emily video with the thug that I believed you. Serena showed a mocking smile. Vincent, I've seen many men, few are as self-smart as you. Whatever, you'll get your retribution, ha ha ha. Watching the two bite each other, I suddenly felt the matter might not be as simple as I thought. I didn't know what Serena went through. Why was she in the hospital during the day and here at night? What puzzled me more was Vincent. After meeting Serena, his face was terrifyingly dark. I'd never seen such an expression on him. I suddenly felt lost. I realized I didn't know Vincent much. What he showed me usually was completely different from now. As Vincent entered, the butler suddenly brought a paper. Vincent, this is the pregnancy report found in Madame's suitcase. Madame was 2 months pregnant. Vincent's dark face instantly turned pale. He took the pieced-together pregnancy report, saw intrauterine early pregnancy, 9 weeks plus on it, thought of something, pushed aside the butler, and rushed to the basement. I was pulled flying. I watched him take out the key and finally open the door closed for 8 days. I couldn't smell, but Vincent's instant covering of mouth and nose told me how stinky the room was. Yes, the corpse had rotted to maggot infestation. How could it not stink? Vincent looked at the corpse on the ground, his shock genuine. He staggered forward. Emily, Emily, don't scare me. He trembled, wanting to touch my corpse, but retracted mid-air. Vincent's tears fell drop by drop. He saw something in my palm, used tissue to pry open my hand. The rotted liquefied flesh fell off instantly, revealing the shriveled black mass of the fetus inside. Is this our child? How is our child here? Emily, I was wrong, I was wrong. I shouldn't have treated you like that, shouldn't have hurt our child. Get up and forgive me, okay? Beside him, I clutched my heart, closing eyes in pain. What pained me was that even now, he didn't truly admit wrong for hurting me. He was only pained because the child died by his hand. From beginning to end, Vincent didn't think hurting me was wrong. Actually, thinking carefully, in Vincent's eyes, I wasn't really a person. From our first meeting, he liked my obedience. At that time, I had just escaped with Mom, very wary of the outside. Vincent appeared, gradually softening my guard with his gentleness. When I invested trust in him, he brought me to the Ho residence, nominally caring, actually controlling. He gave me money to shop, but forbade buying products outside his specified brands. He let me socialize, but sent countless bodyguards to follow constantly. He enrolled me in classes, but only dance and music. But I clearly liked martial arts. He forbade posting daily life on social platforms, forbade working, every control was named protection. I wasn't unaware of the wrongness, but at that time, my investment in him was too deep, I couldn't bear to abandon the only one giving me warmth. Until Serena's appearance, I suddenly awakened. But I don't thank her. If not for her self-directed play, I might have had a chance to escape. Unfortunately, I turned away painfully, not wanting to see Vincent's disgusting self-touching performance. Leo followed Vincent down closely, seeing this, his face paled in fright. In my heart, I could only apologize, I didn't mean to appear in such a scary form. Vincent went mad. He actually carried my corpse, rotted to exposed bones, out of the basement and placed me on the bed where I hid glucose. Then he filled the room with various foods, and under Leo's indescribable gaze, fed the food into my mostly rotted mouth. While feeding, he said, "Emily, be good, eat well so the baby can grow healthy." Vincent placed the child's embryo in my half-empty belly, pretending it was still gestating. I just felt nauseous. If I could vomit, I'd have vomited all over him long ago. Leo couldn't watch anymore. "Vincent, Madam is gone, doing this will bring her back. Let her rest in peace." Vincent's bloodshot eyes glared. "Leo, I haven't settled with you yet. You knew Madam was locked in the basement, why didn't you let her out?" He threw down the bowl and chopsticks, pounced, and strangled Leo's neck, viciously. "It's you, all you killed Emily." I quickly tried to pull Vincent, but my hands passed through his body repeatedly, I could only wail impotently. Leo struggled fiercely, his face turned purple from asphyxiation, eyes rolling up, about to die, a flash of vengeful pleasure in Vincent's eyes. He transferred his crimes to Leo, now having a specific target to vent hatred, striking extremely ruthlessly. Just as he was about to apply more force, a baseball bat smashed his head hard. I turned, it was my mom. Vincent didn't faint, staggering up. Memories of pre-death beatings emerged clearly. Terrified, I blocked him, shouting, "Mom, run." But my mom couldn't hear, she swung the bat again, smashing hard. This time on Vincent's knee. I even clearly heard the bone crack. Vincent fell to the ground, glaring ferociously at my mom. "Old hag, you again." My mom, tears streaming, didn't stop, smashing Vincent's joints and head repeatedly, saying, "You killed my Emily, you killed her." I stood aside, crying until my body trembled. "Mom, escape quickly. Don't ruin yourself for scum." My mom wasn't in good condition, after a few smashes, she lost strength. Seeing Vincent about to struggle up, Leo, finally catching breath, grabbed plates from the table and smashed Vincent's back of the head. Smashing one broken, then another, until all dozens of dishes on the table were smashed, Vincent lay in a pool of blood, then he stopped, panting heavily. Sirens came from outside, Leo showed a forced smile, I reported to the police. Then he collapsed to the ground. What followed seemed fast-forwarded, scenes flashed before me. Countless people rushed in, countless voices echoed in my ears. I saw someone collect my corpse, and Vincent handcuffed and lifted into an ambulance. My mom and the awakened Leo got into the police car together. I finally escaped Vincent's shackles, could choose direction, and unhesitatingly followed Mom. But time suddenly passed so fast. I was like a passerby watching a fast-forwarded movie. Vincent was sentenced to death for intentional homicide. Serena got 20 years for massive fraud. My mom and Leo were ruled self-defense and released in court. They returned to handle my affairs, burying me in a scenic cemetery. The final scene was Mom placing a bunch of white chrysanthemums at my grave. My time returned to normal in that instant. My mom stroked my photo on the tombstone, sobbing, "Darling, Mom didn't protect you, causing you such great suffering." I couldn't help wanting to cry. I stepped forward and hugged her. I could actually hug Mom. Guiltily tightening the embrace, I cried, "Mom, I don't blame you. You're so brave, you saved me time and again, you've always been my pride." Mom seemed to sense something. Surprised, she reached and touched my arm. "Emily, is it you?" I felt myself leaving. A force pulled me. I quickly hugged Mom tightly again. "Mom, live well. I hope you live well." My body became transparent. Just as I was about to disappear, Mom seemed to see me. "Emily," I heard. "I'll live well, rest assured." My body disappeared amid Mom's tears. A breeze blew over the white chrysanthemums, petals trembling lightly. That was my final response to Mom.